This is the twin reverb reissue. The 65 reissue belongs to a friend of mine. And on 4/20/2018, I found and performed the following service. Heater wire shorted a plate connection on output tube socket. I suspect Fender stripped a little too much insulation from the heater wire, causing the bare wire to contact the plate pin. This was over here. There's a scorch on the chassis. The tube is fine, but the chassis has a scorch mark inside, and the tube socket has carbon scoring and damaged metal. Exact replacement tube socket installed and wired properly. Mains fuse blew, loose fuse holder. Tighten fuse holder, installed new 4-amp slow blow fuse. So pretty basic stuff, not the heavy lifting I often do on these. First thing to check, this amp's not powering up. Blown 4-amp fuse, I'll change that out. And I can see a scorch mark right here on this screen grid resistor on V7. And if I pull V7, I don't see any massive discoloration, but I do see a little flecks on the inside of the glass. That's on the inside. That used to be part of a structure of the tube. So I suspect this tube went bad, started to blow this screen grid resistor, and eventually blew the mains fuse. So let's test that. I'm going to pull V7 and V10 and leave V8 and 9 in there and put a different matched pair of Mesa 6L6s in 7 and 10. As long as each side is matched to each other, it's fine for test purposes at least. We'll worry about final bias and all that later. Maybe get a 4-amp fuse in here. Well, I am out of 4-amp 3AG fuses. I'm going to put a 5-amp in. I'm doing this knowing what I'm doing, and I'm going to use my current limiters, so it's not going to have anywhere near 5 amps regardless. This will just tell me if the fuse and the tube and possibly this resistor are the root cause of the issue. So let me hook up a speaker cabinet just to give it a load. Make sure the volumes are off and the reverb's off. I'm going to plug it into my current limiter, and I'm going to begin to power it on. Now I'm going to be watching for the current draw, and I'll be watching this resistor. I'm going to replace this resistor, but it still measures 470. So I think the fuse blew before this totally failed, but I'll confirm that. Let's power it on, and let's take some voltage measurements as it warms up. All right, there's no problem with the heater secondary. Let me take it out of standby. Got a glow from the tube, but not a bright glow. I do have noise. This amp should be mostly quiet with all the volumes off. That could be an issue with the tube. I'll make sure I've got screen voltage everywhere I want to have screen voltage. So here I've got 348, 348, 348, 348, and the plates, 349. Now those voltages are going to be low, probably about 40, 50 volts low because I have the current limiter on. And I'm not loving the noise level. All right, I think I found the secondary problem with this amp causing the background noise. This heater balance pot isn't really balancing anything. It's noisiest in the middle. So I think I'm going to have to replace this with just some fixed resistors, as you've seen in other amps. The issue with this pot is it's a 1/3 watt or 1/4 watt pot, and when we put in resistors, we use 1/2 watt resistors. This thing's just not rated for the current, and over time, those things just fail. I don't think it'll be missed. Let me change out the screen grid resistor and put in some actual heater balance resistors and see where we're at. All right, now I've got the temporary pair of output tubes in V7 and V10. Everything's working there. I've got a new 3 watt 470 ohm screen grid resistor. I'll replace the other 3 later. I'll change out the 5 amp fuse for a 4 amp. I installed the heater balance resistors because the hum balance pot sucks. And the hum that the amp was making with all the volumes off is gone. The amp is now silent with the volumes off. If I bring the volume up on the reverb channel, there's some hum there. but it varies by where my hand is, which is not atypical. So let me put some shielding in place. And it goes away. So I think this is going to be a very simple fix. I've got 3 more screen grids to change out, and I will take this tube set to Tube Depot and see if they can be saved. I want to test all of them, though I know one is probably bad. But the inner pair, which are still original, are kind of microphonic. It's mostly V8, and that is a problem in a combo amp. So I'll also call the owner tomorrow, tell him what I found, see if he wants to get a new quad of 6L6s. I'm always mindful of the budget. A quad of 6L6s is about $180. There's no getting around that. But it's a twin. It's a big beast. You know, it last needed work, 7 years ago? It was minor work 7 years ago. It's minor work now. Time for some tubes. Not too shabby. Thanks for watching.